by the ordinance of Rassilon, I say, let the Panopticon begin.
I remember saying to Bill Hartnell, this will never go, you know, it's never go. You can't do all this business in a phone box and all that lot. And he said, yes, I think it'll be running. I think it'll be running in a year's time. I said, I think you're daft. So I said, I bet you £1 it's not. He said, fine. But I never paid him because I didn't see him again after that. But that was it. But it's quite extraordinary for me. Well, not so much afterwards when I saw it on screen, because then I thought, oh, yes, well, I can see that it might, yes. I made a mistake, really, as usual.
I always admired him very much indeed, so it was a great joy to me to work with him. And we became great friends from this movie, and straight after the movie finished, we starred together in a West End play called Thark, which was a farce.
I'm glad you pronounced that one.
Yes, Thark, which is a very famous farce by Ben Travers, and we did that at the Garrick Theatre for about 7 months. So we, my husband and myself used to go and stay with Peter and his wife, Helen, very often for holidays, and we got to know them both very well indeed. And he's a terrific guy. He's very amusing. He's very meticulous as an actor, possibly one of the most meticulous actors I've ever worked with. And he was full of screen gems, the idea about filming. He had very, very blue eyes, and he always said that if possible, in a film or a show, he'd always wear something blue at his neck. And if you notice in that film, I think he's got a blue cravat, blue tie, because the blue round the neck then caught the eyes and so on and so forth, and they made the eyes bluer. He was full of fascinating ideas about screen acting.
Well, Jenny, how did you find it working opposite these contraptions over here? Is it difficult to act with them?
Yeah, I seem to remember that one had to be fairly nifty. You've got to get out of the way because they went quite quickly, especially on those slippery floors. Because the whole object of the Daleks was that, in Doctor Who and the Daleks film, was that the floor motivated the movement. They got their power from the floor. And so the chaps inside were trained to move these things very, very swiftly about. And you can see by the protuberances there, you had to sort of be ready to duck quite efficiently. You had to be quite athletic, really. I don't know how I did it, but I sort of got going. But you were a bit nervous they were actually going to run over your foot sometimes, or squash you into the side of the set, a little bit like that. Apart from that, I can't think of too many problems, and it was quite fun.
What did you think, Eileen?
Well, I was very mystified with the Daleks because I couldn't make up my mind whether they worked automatically or whether there was somebody in them. But now I know better. I know this. Well, I hope I've got it right. There's somebody in them, I think.
But I work more with, what's his name? The
George.
George and
Alan
Rowe. And we were a smashing team. You know, George is enormous fun and great chap, and so is Alan Rowe. In a way, we were slightly removed from Tom Baker. I don't think he liked the script all the time, but we got on with it. But it was very agreeable indeed. It was I enjoyed doing that very much.
The whole set of their room, we ran out of money, and the whole thing was made out of milk crates. And you know that huge room, semicircular room, if you look back now, the whole thing is actually stacked milk crates, sprayed blue or pink or whatever.
The designer comes from the next village to the one that I come from in Somerset. Actually, I think hers is over the border in Sutton Bingham, which is Dorset.
And she sells milk.
Clearly, he has to consider whether a programme on his channel is going to be viable and whether it is going to get the same sort of audiences. You have to consider the international potential of anything that costs a lot of money now. Unfortunately, that's a fact of life. But I just feel that Doctor Who is a great international programme. as long as it stays English. I would never want to see it on the screen internationalised. With great respect to our American visitors here, I wouldn't want to see Doctor Who become an American, and neither would they, I suspect. I think they would like to see the Doctor remain English in nature, well, wherever he comes from. But at least it should, I mean, the charm of Doctor Who and the excitement of Doctor Who is its Englishness and the English approach to it.
I think everybody last season, we were all just inspired by Sophie because she's so marvellous with this character. And I think Andrew's greatest contribution was to get the characters of the companions. We tried so hard not to make Ace a screamer for once. I think when the day I actually got commissioned, John said, at the end of the first episode, let's make this thing which you've just seen with the husks, let's make this Ace's first and only scream. And we tried to do it and it didn't work, and it just wasn't in the character. She'd just go ahead and start bashing things, and which is true of Sophie as well, but she's not around.
She is actually in the building.
Yes, I know, I've got bruises.
Can you remember what the initial character description said?
It's largely as he turned out to look, but it was mainly facial, with the sort of protruding forehead and the flared nostrils. But it said he was short and squat, which I'm not really. That was another thing.
What about the voice as well?
That was quite easy in a way, because, as I say, we tried it out in John's office, and I tried really squanching once. He said, no, that doesn't sound that'll be a bit wearing after a little while. So in the end, I had a mouthpiece to make my mouth a bit sort of like that. And we worked out that he was a very gentle and a very polite manservant. So I played it like that. And with the mouth thing, it was just a kind of sort of polite and pleasant, and it came out rather like that, I think.
Did this develop all the time in rehearsals, or did you arrive fairly early on?
Oh, no, it sort of develops in rehearsals, which are always great fun with Doctor Who. I mean, you have a great time.
That was another problem with Ghostlight, was never stopped eating sandwiches. And of course, as you, I'm sure, are aware nowadays, the way we do it, with a number of different takes. I would start eating a sandwich, and then there's, at the rehearsal, the shot, and I'd start eating the sandwich and feeling quite peckish, and I'm quite enjoying it. And then you'd sort of say, well, we'll go for one, you see, after eating a couple of sandwiches, and then you'd go for a take, and then you find that your mouth's gone dry, and the sort of feeling of fullness sort of coming over you, and you've still got to eat the sandwich, and then they say, yes, I'm sorry, there's something wrong there, we'll have to go again. So you're presented with another sandwich, and by the sort of 17th attempt, sandwiches get a bit boring, especially when there's nothing in between the bread.
We were with Carmen Silvera, who, as you know, is the lady in Allo, the wife of Renee, and she was telling me about her main thing was something called a Celestial Toymaker, and she played Clara the Doll, and the Celestial Toymaker was Michael Goff, and I've forgotten who she said her partner was, but she was Clara the Doll. It gets actors and actresses talking. They boast about being in Doctor Who, which is a lovely tribute to both to the series and to all you lovely people who've supported it for years. That we, as fellow professionals, actually fell for it. It's a legend, and it's a wonderful combination of. I don't use the word escapism because it's all escapism, but it's that plus all our fantasies, all our nightmares and dreams about the great big what's out yonder, and. It helps to fulfil those, But even I was on the Isle of Wight recently, and I just dropped the name Doctor Who, and some army major said, "Oh, I was a little boy on the beach when the Sea Devils invaded Whitecliff Bay," and he suddenly became a small boy again. And he said, "I got to wear the suit, which was made of rubber, and it smelt funny, and the master was out," he said, on one of those forts. And he said there was a great battle on the beach, and there's this army major behaving like my 9-year-old son.
regenerated. Already? How are you, Nick?
I'm fine, thank you.
You all right? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you had your hearing aid in. Sorry. Well, would you sit down now, please? Sit down, cameramen, candid cameramen. There'll be plenty of time for taking pictures later, and it's very irritating, but do sit down, Nick, my dear chap.
Thank you. I'm standing on ceremony.
You've seen it now. All right, so it can come off. Good. Right. Wait 1 minute.
I was going to say good morning. It's good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Who cares what it is? Right. There we are. Right, all together now. Haroon, Haroon, Haroon. To come to the big conferences in America, and he wouldn't go for years. And then I persuaded him to come, and he loved it then. And somebody gave me a water pistol, and he said something rude because he always called me, you know, the old dandy up there, and he'd say old fancy pants. He called me. So I just took this water pistol and went like this, and got him right in the eye. You see, with it. And he said, "Thank you very much indeed." And the next panel we were sitting on, he produced a water pistol about this big. And he got me in the back of the neck with about half a gallon of water. So my friends wouldn't allow this to happen, and I think a friend of mine from Texas, I think it was Carlotta Barnes, who's here, I'm glad to say, and I think she got me a water pistol. It had a 5-gallon pack on your back. And I got packed from about 45 feet from the auditorium yet, you know, boing. But he, the miserable bugger, had got an umbrella and he went boing.
Wendy, did you like running around in all them little jumpsuit numbers you had?
Thank you. Yes, when the zip didn't break. I mean, there were a couple of moments, a couple of times, because they had really long zips in them that went from...
Top to bottom.
Top to bottom, yes. And a couple of times, after quite a lot of exertion running around with the doctor and stuff, they did go. But actually, they were very comfortable because they were all in one. They did give me different to the sort of mini skirts. I mean, they were difficult to work in. I noticed going up the ladder in the sewers in that episode I saw earlier. It's a good shot of bum in a mini skirt. Yeah.
A body shot.
So you liked your all-in-one. I didn't like my all-in-one, though. I mean, you know that.
You would have preferred the miniskirt.
I would have preferred the miniskirt, actually, yes.
You look terrified there.
I was meant to.
Yes, I know.
That's called acting.
I was acting on it. Does that one bring back any memories? He said, trying to get himself out of the situation.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I remember... Oh, I don't know if I should say it, really.
Oh, yes.
Are we all broad-minded here?
No.
I remember the first day of filming, and Fraser had to rescue... Hello, you know the story. No?
Well, no.
Fraser has to rescue me from this big house when the Daleks have captured me, and...
Oh, yes.
And, oh, dear, I had the long Victorian frock on, and there were Daleks guarding me, and Fraser has to rush up to me and say, Miss Waterfield, quickly. Up your back passage. And we did, and I said, you can't say that. And Fraser went, oh no, I don't suppose I can. So Derek Martinez said, well, what's the matter with you two? Why can't you say this? And I said, oh, because I didn't really know anybody. And I said, well, I don't really think, well, he has to say, up, you know. Come on, he said, don't be so silly, you're nervous. It's the first day of filming, we'll do it again. I thought, oh, God. So Fraser said, don't you understand this? We can't actually say that line like that. So eventually, we actually told Derek, so he realised that he couldn't say this line like that. He said, all right then, well, we'll just cut the back out, back. So it said, so next take goes, Fraser rushes up to me and says, right, quickly, Miss Waterfield, up your passage. Well, that that was it. I mean, we couldn't do this shot. It was, oh dear, that was one. And honestly, the first day of filming, when, as I say, one's pretty nervous, and these darlings, and I, there was one there and one there, and I'm saying, hello, who's in there? Hello, fine, whatever. And the things they did to me on that first day, I mean, you really would have thought, to say, oh, isn't she nice, make life comfy for her, don't worry about it. They used to come up behind me, and I'm not going to tell you what they did with their plungers.
If Victoria had have continued in the series, how do you think she'd have developed, and what ways?
That's very difficult for me to say, because Victoria ended when I left the series, of course. I don't know what would have happened to her after that. I have an idea what, she might be doing now. Not involved with the doctor, whatever. She was left on Earth, right? And I reckon, you may think I'm balmy, but I reckon that she's become a writer. And she's never married, but she became a writer. And she writes all these children's stories. She has these wonderful ideas that sort of pop into her head. And she doesn't know where they come from. And she puts them all down. And what she's putting down, what she doesn't realise, is the adventures that she had with the doctor. And she has no idea about it. And she's quite a famous writer. That's my theory.
Nick, did you have any idea when you were playing the Colonel that this was going to turn out to be a regular part?
No, none at all.
That's it then.
I was going to expand.
You had that sort of no, that's it tone to your voice.
Oh, no. But now I've dried, you see. Now you interrupted me, so I can't remember what I was going to say. Did I have an idea? No, I didn't at all. That's right. Just go to sleep for a moment, because it's pretty boring, this, I tell you. No, actually, the Web of Fear, which is what I did with Debbie, was I was supposed to... Yes, I remember. Sorry. I was supposed to play originally a guy called Captain Knight, who got killed in the Web of Fear. And I was going to play that, and Douglas Camfield rang me up about 2 or 3 days before we started rehearsal and said, Nick, do you mind playing the Colonel instead of Captain Knight? I said, not at all. It's promotion. That's always good in the army. But since it's the BBC, the money will be the same, which it was. So had not David Langton got a better job, because he was going to play Colonel Lethbridge Stewart, had he not got a different job, my whole history would never have happened, and that's quite true. So I owe the part of the break eventually to David Langton, from upstairs and downstairs. And no, I had no idea at all. And then he became, after Web of Fear, Dougie Camfield and Peter Bryant, they liked the character, and then they introduced him, and then Pap's going to leave, and Job was going to take over. How about signing on for a bit, 2 years? I said, you bet. So that's it. That is the story. That is the actual fact. It's all true.
When you return to the programme, things like Mordred Undead, The Five Doctors and Battlefield, have you been happy with how your character has been written and developed in those sort of things after your unit stories?
Yes, I think so, because it was developed in the only way it could, I think, really. Because as the years pass on, and one changes one's appearance, I like the idea of the Brigadier becoming a schoolmaster in Mordred Undead. I think that's quite often you get a lot of retired Army and Navy men who go on a burst at some public school. So that was all right, and that seemed quite logical. And then coming back in Battlefield, that was all right.
All sorts of weird things happened, which at the time, perhaps the sixth floor thought were rather laughable, but at the same time there was a rather sinister aspect to them, like a huge statuette, very beautifully engraved, arrived from America, the rear of a horse. And it was engraved as the Royal Horse's Arse Award, presented to Michael Grade from the Doctor Who fans of America. And he received letters written in blood, and they were analysed, and it was real blood.
I think the only filming hazard was that we did have to do one retake due to us because we forgot we had our sunglasses on.
Oh, that's true, yes. Yes, I've forgotten that.
I think it was the long shot, if anybody
Running down the hill.
of us all, the three of us walking down the hill to find Pat's doctor, and we were waiting for a cue on the walkie-talkies to say action, and meanwhile we were standing there with our sunglasses on, chatting away, and finally they suddenly shout action, so we all started walking down, and about halfway down we could see was it Patricia, whatever, the PA was sort of like waving, and I thought, what's wrong? What's wrong? And we'd all three got sunglasses on. So we had to do that shot again. That was the only real sort of territorial hazard, I think.
Exciting life we lead, don't we?
Oh.
Esmeralda! Oh, yes. My lovely Esmeralda. Yes, I consider that. I wouldn't come back as a doctor. I'd come back as Max Hill. There's a concession. It was a wonderful part. Esmeralda was my hat. You all know the story, don't you?
No.
No? Oh, dear.
I don't.
Don't you?
No,
You don't?
No.
Oh, Nick, well... I came into Arc of Infinity playing Max Hill, the guard. I'll make this brief because some of you heard it 100 times. Which was a 4 or 5 line part, basically. Come along with me, Doctor, and you're under arrest, and those sort of lines. You know, glorified guard, really. And they gave me a costume with this vast concoction of a fiberglass hat with a feather on top. And shot the first scene wearing the hat, and then made an entrance through a door, and I couldn't get through. Now, you can't have the leader of the guard kind of going down on his knees to go through a door. So they said, well, take the hat off and carry it. So, because it had to still be there because of continuity. So then, with the feather bent over, I thought it looked like a chicken, you see. So I called it Esmeralda, as one does if one has a chicken. And I thought, well, if it's a chicken, it's got to join in the conversation. So I said, hello, Doctor. and said, shut up, Esmeralda, and things like that, which I think Peter found a trifle disconcerting, really. He wondered who this idiot was who was wandering around his set, talking to imaginary chickens. And it became the kind of running gag of the story. And who directed that? Was it Ron Jones? I've forgotten who directed it. It was Ron, wasn't it?
I think it probably was.
He kept thinking of ways that I could get rid of the wretched hat. I said, no, you can't, because I've shot that scene already, you see.
Sophie,
And,
if the show hadn't been put on ice as it is now, what developments would you have made to the character had you been carried on playing the role?
Well, to be honest, it's not actually up to me to make the developments in Ace's character. Obviously, I mean, it's initially kind of John and the writers, isn't it? It's a kind of joint decision by you. And then I as an actress, I put in my own interpretation of what they've written. But I would have hoped that the character would have developed, because she certainly was going along those lines, and very much. I mean, particularly the last season, I think Sylvester said to me that it was rather as though the Doctor was taking Ace around the universe and making her confront her fears and sort of teaching her through the situations that she came up against about the world. And I suppose may have been thinking of depositing her off back in Perivale, a better human being.
I think often when the character of companions is developed, one has to be very careful that in the maturing of the character, that you don't destroy all the things that made the character initially attractive. And I did feel, as Sophie says, that last season was particularly successful in that way, in that the character very definitely had a progression. However, her foibles and her fun were retained. I was very pleased. And I think at this point I'd just like to pay all due credit to Andrew Cartmel, who is more concerned with the detail of the scripts. And it was under his guidance that was achieved, and I thought it worked extremely well.
Not enough. Do I still see? No, why do you keep applauding? I think you'd all like to see more of Sophie, wouldn't you? Yes. Sophie and I keep in touch. She comes round and visits the wife and the kids, would you believe, after that? Yes, no, she does. Because I'm only joking. I mean, you realise that, don't you? Don't you, from the sun? Where are you? Anyway, no, do run that. It'd be wonderful to sue you. I could make millions. We do keep in touch, because we did get on immensely well, and we still do. Yeah, we're great mates. Yep.
What other kind of roles would you like to play other than Doctor Who?
I haven't played Doctor Who yet. What other kind of roles would I like to play? I'd like to do something in a nice dress. for a change. I'd like to do a nice drama, like Helena Bonham Carter type role. Yes, something with a lot of romance. Yes, nice.
Soppy.
I'd like to do something very strong. In fact, I'm doing an audition this week. I don't think it'll ever come off because the director sounds like a complete fruitcake, but I'm going up for playing Hamlet in an all-female version of Hamlet. I haven't told you that, have I? So
Well, I mean, it's been done before. I mean, what's the French actress with the wooden leg? She played Hamlet. Well, what's her name?
Must cut my leg off tonight.
Sarah Bernhardt.
Oh,
Bernhardt, yes, she played it. And Francis de la Tour has done it. So it has been done. So me, he's not quite as such a fruitcake.
Yes, maybe he's not a
You'd be good
fruitcake
Hamlet.
after all. Thank you.
Yeah. I could play Ophelia, couldn't I? Or whatever it is.
Oh, I'm going for Hamlet. I'm going for the big one. And you, it would be...
If you're in tights, you have to, yes. You have to prove it's a big
Well, look,
one. Anyway, look, my name's Sylvester McCoy. You obviously know that, hopefully. I'm coming out, and if you want to ask me any questions, you can be brave enough to. Just put your hand up and ask me a question. Yes, what would you like to ask?
How would you have liked your doctor to be killed off?
How?
I mean, in terms of regeneration.
Well, gently, laughing. Die laughing. I'd like to die laughing. If I got to die, killed off, that's what you mean. I don't know, maybe it'd be quite nice to turn into a rather nice lady. Think of what fun I could have, playing with her on the ground. As we change through, I became a lady doctor. I don't know. I mean, how do you think I should be killed off? I mean, I don't think I should be killed off at all, really. I think the BBC have killed me off anyway, but never mind.
I shall keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, I think you're better the next time.
Did you enjoy interacting with Sophie Aldred?
Is that a euphemism for something? Did I enjoy interacting with Sophie Aldred? Of course. Hello, who are you?
I'm Elaine.
Hello, Eileen. Yes. Yeah, I did. I mean, I got on. I think we got on really well. We still do. We're great mates. Sophie and I got on. She laughed at all my jokes, which makes her really popular in my